Today, let's start with two pictures. First, imagine John is out with me fishing and he hasn't had that much experience. And during the entire trip, John continually makes sure that I know what he knows about fishing. That's because he's assertive and controlling and self-promotional, and he wants me to get the idea that even though he's never been on a boat very much before, he's talked to or had breakfast with the best in the world. And when he tangles his line into knots, he explains how my $250 reel is compromised, and it's not like what he's used to using. In other words, it's the reel's fault, or my fault, and during the entire trip, he's like this. And he wants me to realize that he could, if he wanted, teach me or anyone else how to fish. And actually, he's so good at this impression banter that I find myself at times listening and thinking he knows what he is saying. And by the way, do you know John? He sometimes sells a ton of stuff in fast-moving sales cycles. And some very sophisticated Johns learn to control their promotional tendencies and listen, and then sell the sizzle of their product's benefits better than anyone. Now let's turn to another picture. One with Bob. From the moment we step onto the dock and even before we get into the boat, he lets me know that he doesn't know what he is doing and that he hopes I'll be okay when he messes up. He's actually nervous about how he will look or how I will react or help him when he doesn't know what to do. That's because Bob is harder on himself than anyone else can be. He'll probably replay the times he did poorly over and over again as he goes to sleep tonight. And if you like real and authentic types, Bob is the guy. He appreciates how I try to help and direct what he does and any encouragement I give him. That's because his compassion is high and his need to promote himself is low. He genuinely wants me to help him do things well, and if I will coach him in a way that doesn't make him feel like he doesn't have what it takes. He even apologizes at times for needing too much of my attention. Welcome to today's episode on the 7th of the 9 fundamental personality traits necessary for great sales recruiting and coaching: self-promotion. It is described by the CTS Sales Profile as a trait that measures a salesperson's tendency to exaggerate strengths and downplay weaknesses in order to leave a most favorable impression. High scorers on the self-promotion scale, like John, are resilient to criticism and find it difficult to recognize their weaknesses. Because of this, they may deny their faults and failures in order to maintain a positive image. They can appear confident and even overconfident in their abilities as they naturally sell themselves and the benefits of their products with ease, even in the face of rejection or strong pushback. In contrast, people with a low need to impress, like Bob, take criticism to heart. It can be personal for them. This makes them more open to recognizing their weaknesses and working on self-improvement. These individuals can be more coachable and willing to learn, but they may also struggle to sell something they don't believe in. While they are more coachable, they may struggle with marketing themselves and with being strong presenters who naturally use powerful words to promote the benefits of their products. Their oversensitivity to how they are perceived can leave them vulnerable to rejection or to strong negotiators. It is important for recruiters and sales managers to recognize how self-promotion affects sales in their market to their typical customer profile. There will be challenges for sales reps who are on the low or high end of this trait, and one may naturally do better than the other in your market and culture. I know that you can see that self-promotion is an important trait to measure when recruiting and coaching the best salespeople, but whether it needs to be low or high does depend on your customer profile, what you sell, your typical sales size, and complexity. For example, in 2 validation studies, one with a very large national insurance company and the other a very large window replacement company, the best sales reps for the fast-moving insurance sale were high in self-promotion, while the second, a high-dollar, more complex sale, those low in the need to impress, did the best. Now, before we leave you today, I must say that as we take our high or low levels of this trait home or into our friendships, self-promotion or a lack thereof will present its own challenges to our relationships there. For example, we may find it hard to say we're wrong, or we may be too sensitive to criticism and flash out with anger when we hear someone we love ask for us to change something we're doing. As we become more aware of ourselves, our emotional intelligence will grow. We can then act with greater maturity and avoid the extremes of this trait. Then we can work to be less emotionally sensitive to criticism or learn to admit our faults and apologize. As a result, our growth will help those we love most, and our relationship with them will improve and grow stronger over time. Thanks for being with me today, and next week we will move to the 8th of the 9 primary traits in the CTS Sales Profile, our belief in others, or our level of skepticism and its effect on recruiting and coaching the very best salespeople, and how we behave at work and at home. See you then.